Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is HD StarCraft, and I'm here to bring you guys another game from Red Bull Battlegrounds. This is actually going to be Liquid Sheth at the Blue Zerg at the 6 o'clock position of Antigua Shipyard. And his opponent is going to be EG's Thorzain, one of the new pickups for Evo Geniuses. I think it was last month. And a big pickup that is. He was one of the best players on Mouse Sports, but now is on EG. And this should be pretty exciting. This was one of the lower matches in Red Bull Battlegrounds. Obviously, not one of the featured matches, but I picked these games out because apparently these are pretty good, especially the next game. I don't want to say too much about it, but apparently they're pretty good. And you know, it's two foreigners. We don't really get to. Lately, I've been doing a lot of Koreans. I'll admit it. I'm having a little Korean love fest. So I'm going to try to step away a little bit and acknowledge the outer scene. Not to say that these guys are not trying to diminish them or anything like that. Thorzain's, you know, like I said, one of the best players formerly from Mouse Sports. And Sheth is, I love Sheth, man. Every time I get to meet him up in real life, it's always a pleasure. Very great guy, and an extremely talented Zerg at that. I've seen him make some deep runs into tournaments as well, so I do think this is going to be a very good match, and it is a best of 3, not a best of 5. Remember, it's one of the lower ones, not one of the upper bracket high-profile matches. So we'll see what happens here. We do have a barracks coming up, and a refinery just next to the barracks. Interestingly, Thorzain opening up with almost looks like a TVT style. We don't have the barracks at the front door, nor do we have the supply depot there. In fact, Thorzain's initial supply depot and barracks were right up inside his base. And I guess he could triple supply depot wall this, or he could lift out the barracks and place it down later. You know, usually against Zerg, you want to wall off, so we'll see what he does. You know, if you do this, you do lose a little less mining time on that SCV. You don't have to send it all the way over to the ramp, but really, what's that? It's pretty minuscule. One Marine now on the way. It looks like Sheth, excuse me, getting in the habit of calling the Zerg player Stefano now. Sheth is going to be going for a hatchery after the spawning pool. This is one of the matchups where you can hatch safely first before pool. Can't do it in ZVP. It's very hard to do. You can do it, but it's very hard. But it looks like the Marine here is going to be able to push away the Overlord. I wonder if it's going to get killed. That would be terrible for Sheth. I think it will get away. But the Overlord, more importantly, did not see the gas. He might have seen the SCVs returning Vespine, though. And it looks like the Overlords will get away. But I will, for now, say that Sheth probably didn't see that. And because of that, he doesn't really know. Is it a 1-Rax expand? Or is it a 1-Rax into factory? So he doesn't really know right now, and that's a little bit of a dicey situation. Usually, as a StarCraft 2 player, you want to know everything. The more knowledge you have, the better position you are to win the battle. And it does look like it is a 1-Rax expand into 1-Rax factory into expansion. And this is a very common build from Terran. A little less economical than 1-Rax expanding straight up, but you do get Hellion control on the map, and Hellions are a deep, very deep early game to mid game unit. They can deny Zergling Scout. They can even get inside. If they can sneak by, they can kill a lot of drones. And right now, Sheth wants to get those Zerglings out on the field. He needs to poke into the base to confirm the existence or non-existence of Hellions. And right now, or at least see the factory or not. And right now, his Zerglings are just chilling at the Zenonga Tower. Could immediately send them up to the top left. I think he knows. And it's always a good idea to sniff out right now. There's no real unit that's a big threat yet until the Hellions come. And it looks like we do have, wow, Macro Command Center coming from Thorzain. And actually, no surprise there, really. It looks like the Zerglings are going to run up here. They will get killed by the Hellions, but more importantly, they see the Hellions. So now that Sheth can say, okay, I know what you're doing. But what he doesn't know is there is a Macro Command Center coming, and I was going to get to this earlier. Thorzain is one of the most macro-intensive Terrans you will ever meet. You know, it's almost like he was a Zerg player transformed into a Terran player. He like me, I don't know if you guys saw my Terran exploits, my Terran adventures, but I love getting macro CCs. I always have a macro CC, and Thorzain is a big-time macro player, so he will have that macro CC coming. And I think Sheth, you know, knowing the players at the top level, there are only so many pro players, you know that Thorzain likes to get the Macro Command Center up, so it would be prudent of Sheth not to assume it's up, but to send an Overlord in and confirm. Unfortunately for now, the Overlord has been sent away by the Marine inside the base, the Lone Marine, and the Hellions for now at the front door also going to be doing a good job of keeping any creep from spreading out. You know, to start things off, I really like Thorzain's positioning. Any weakness in this build, the weakness really is some type of Baneling bust, some type of all-in before you can get units out on the field. Unfortunately for Sheth, he's not you know, I don't want to say unfortunately, but he's not going for an all-in. So the weakness really has turned into a strength for Thorzain because he's going to have so much economy, but a Zergling leaks in. Wow, that was the greatest Ninja Zergling I've ever seen, but it needs to scout the macro command center right now. Oh, it gets surrounded by SCVs. At the very least, it did see the factory, but it doesn't say much. You know, you see that factory, you know, it's like, you have to get Siege Tanks in this matchup anyways, so it's not a huge scout for Sheth. Unfortunately, I really wish he saw that command center, because if he did, then he would probably grab a third right now, maybe even double expand. Really, there is no threat of an attack anytime soon from Thorzain. In fact, you know, we don't even have Stimpak or combat shields yet. So really, Thorzain just kind of posturing right now, does not have any real air under his wings. It's just kind of fluttering about, but very soon he's going to turn into an economic powerhouse, and Sheth will have to worry about that. Sheth now grabbing the third hatchery, has Zerglings at the natural. A lot of Zerglings, in fact, has +1/+1 coming, but it will be a while before they finish. Speed will be finishing fairly soon, and the whole idea here behind Speed for Sheth is so he can kill off these Hellions. He needs to get creep spread out, and, you know, Thorzain's been doing a really good job, I have to say. Splendid job of denying creep tumors so far. Creep has spread down the ramp, but that is to be expected eventually. And it's just a posturing game from Thorzain. He's just waiting, biding time to get... Wow! You could not be more greedy than this. Thorzain, what did I mention he's a macro player? Because not only has he gotten the macro command center, he's also gone double engineering bay. So this is like greed upon greed upon greed. This is like, what can I do for you, friend? Give me all your money. And so Thorzain has so... You know, it would be crazy now if he throws down a macro CC like I like to do. When you expand, you throw another macro CC down. If he does that, it's just like bonker, ridiculous amount of macro from Thorzain. And Sheth, you know, usually Zerg players are the ones who take the initiative to get a bunch of bases, and their whole idea is to get a bunch of bases over Terran, but it almost seems like roles have been reversed here. Thorzain has the same amount of harvesters as the Zerg player does at 53, 50, or it was 52, 52. So really, man, he has a lot of economy going under him right now. And we should start to see the ramp up of production. You know, if he can get barracks and factories out, if he can get some units on the field, then he is going to be totally primed for this game. Zerglings coming from Sheth, though. You know, Sheth still has a huge timing window on his hands. +1/+1 about to finish. A lot of Zerglings on the field as well. I don't know if Thorzain saw these Zerglings, but now he does. And, you know, Sheth's best bet, I think, is to actually attack. With this many Zerglings, I want to say, you know, the Marines don't have stim yet. I want to say he could surround this army and take it down. Maybe the Hellions are the only thing he has to worry about, but with this many Zerglings, man, I really wish Sheth had attacked there. Unfortunately, he doesn't know. He doesn't know that Thorzain has gone so greedily, and the longer he waits, I think the further behind he falls. And Sheth still doesn't have a fourth hatchery. You know, he has one in base, but not one at a mineral node, and trying to get his upgrades going on at the same time, but really his upgrades are way, way far behind. 1-1 for him is done, but if you look at the Marines, they have already gotten 1-1. I'm surprised 2-2 hasn't started yet, but nevertheless, Thorzain, macro to the maximum, and I love this too, a secondary wall just to, you know, the first, you know, just in case the Zerglings leak in here, then they can't get into the third. I would actually expect him to wall here to here as well as another layer that the Zerg has to work through. And really good position so far for Thorzain. One thing I will say though, in this matchup, you know, Terrans are well considered to be the weakest race endgame. Protoss and Zerg kind of smear the face of Terran at the super late game. So even though Sheth, I feel like, is behind right now, if he can get to the late game, get Hive Tech out, you know, he's not necessarily out of the game. It is, you know, it is in his favor to get to the late game, get Brood Lord Infestor on the field. Unfortunately for him, I don't think Thorzain will let him do it. I think Thorzain is going to make a timing attack with all of his bases underneath him, powering this war machine, and I think that timing attack will come around 2-2. You know, 2-2 will finish, and including +1 or +2 weapons. Is that +2 vehicle? It is +1. So all of this is going to come together, and he's going to make a huge timing attack. And I don't know if Sheth will be prepared for that. That is the question here, and we'll just have to wait and see. Sheth coming around the backside here with some Zerglings, has speed, of course, research, trying to wait for Infestors to come out, and a lot of creep spreading here at the middle of the map in Antigua. That's really good from Sheth, because anything he can do to prevent this timing play, to just provide him a bit of a buffer and a breathing zone against this Terran push, will give him enough time to get more units out on the field. And he's trying to get Ultralisk Cavern down right now. Ultralisk usually used as Zerg as a stepping stone before getting the Broodlord Infestor. And if he can get Ultras out, he might be able to hold off this army. There are no Marauders. He's got to be careful, though. Sheth really needs to be careful here. He doesn't want to run in until Ultras have come out on the field. Use the creep as a buffer, and yes, I like this. Send the Zerglings around the backsides to basically pull the Terran player back and delay this attack. I really like what what Sheth has done with that, and he's got so much creep spread, man. He's almost creeped his way over to the Terran base through the backside. So really nice there. It looks like we have a couple of Marines coming through on the ground, on foot, to try to take out this hatchery. Meanwhile, Zerglings running up from Sheth. He might find a tank. He will find a tank and takes it down, but his Zerglings to the east, unfortunately, just get mauled down by those Marines, absolutely shredded, and that to the advantage of Thorzain having 2-2 already on his Marines with stim and combat shields. Maybe not. Yeah, combat shields already finished. So those Zerglings really need Baneling support, Infestor support, or Ultras if they're going to be able to take down this army. And I think, though, that I think Sheth has been able to buy enough time to get Hive units out, but he's still woefully behind in supply, and that's because he let Thorzain get away with this greedy build. And Thorzain is in control of this game. He's got a floating command center just waiting to land down to the next mineral node. And Sheth coming around the backside here. Sheth's hope here is these counterattacks. Nice play. Kicks off the inevitable command center in the middle, and the more he can delay this, the better. And unfortunately, there is tank control on the high ground, so that is not going to work out for Sheth. Sheth will pull back. Sheth now going to go ahead and expand to the outside perimeter, and I don't really like these expansions. Unfortunately, as Zerg, I think you need to well, you know what? It's not a bad expansion. I was going to say you need to expand here because of the gold, but there is no more gold, of course. So I guess it works out okay for Sheth, but you can see on the map, on the mini-map, Thorzain really has control over this game. And wow, he killed off the hatchery at the bottom left. How did that happen? Must have been those 3 Marines relentlessly pounding away. It looks like this medevac will get caught off as Sheth will push it away, but nope, he cannot keep this hatchery alive as there is a medevac drop over there, and Thorzain is just totally running the map right now. What is Sheth going to do? Sheth has maxed out. He does have a lot of Ultras, actually. Let's just see his Ultra count. He's got 4 right now, and he's got 3 more on the way, so he's going to have a lot of Ultralisks. And you know what? One fault here, I think, for Thorzain, if you can call it a fault, is he's pretty much maxed. He cannot make Marauders right now, and you need Marauders against Ultralisks. Marines and tanks can melt if the Ultras get a good surround. So that is one hope here for Sheth. Sheth's going to come in here and reveal the Ultralisk. Upon revealing those Ultras, I would expect Tech Lab production for Marauders, but it looks like he's going for Thors instead, which can work. Still a pretty tense game right here with Thorzain controlling that high ground location. Marines coming around here. Drone is burrowed underground, hiding, just scurrying away from the battlefield. Nice play. And Sheth can, of course, make that into a hatchery later on, but man, Thorzain is just dropping all over the place. If it's not pressure in the middle, it's pressure on the sides. And now Sheth has had enough. He's running in with his Ultras and Zerglings, but those Marines, oh my god, that's such a good position for Marines. I don't think you get a better position than that. That Infestor needs to bungle those Marines, but he's not doing it. And I don't know, man. I think Sheth might have enough Ultras to cleave through regardless. He just had so many Ultralisks. My goodness. At 5-3, but the Marines are still continuing to pour in. Meanwhile, the drops on the sides doing a lot of damage here. Sheth doesn't have reinforcements to deal with that. While he has cleaned up the middle of the map, what about the side expansions? Oh, he can't afford to lose his hatchery. But afford it he must. As he drops down, he's going to have to work that through his budget report. And Thorzain now still attacking with these dropped Marines. Finally, Sheth cleans it up, but I don't think he was able to get a distinct advantage throughout that fight because he lost his hatchery. Had he not lost that hatchery on the side, I would say, okay, he might have a shot. It's a pretty even game, but he's still, it's still looking kind of bleak for Sheth. I will say he kind of climbed back up a bit because he has high ground control right now. Maybe he can take out these SCVs, but look at the Banshees. Love Banshee play to counter Ultras as well. If it's not Marauders, it's Banshees, and Thorzain does love him some Banshees. He is now actually under attack. This Ultra is getting a good surround here from Sheth. And Sheth, I don't know, man. I don't know if these Ultras, they don't really have that much health left remaining under them. and eventually the Banshees will kill them off. But at least Sheth kills off all the tanks. Nice play from Sheth. It's just a couple of tanks remaining, actually. And if he can get rid of these tanks, it's not a bad play at all. Queen's even coming in. Queen's to save the Ultras, to transfuse, and if not transfuse, and to, of course, provide some sort of anti-air. And I can't believe this. Sheth just shoving his Ultras into the face of Thorzain, even though his hatchery has been killed off, even though he's only on 2 bases and he's running out of money, this attack has actually worked. This is incredible. Queen's coming off the line, and if the Sheth doesn't really have anything but 4 very weak Ultras, does he need a transfuse now more than ever? Yeah, he does, and he drops the transfuses down, but he can't afford to lose the Queen. That's his only form of anti-air, and the Queen's drop. So Sheth loses any form of anti-air here, and eventually it looks like the Banshees are going to be able to clean up these Thors. And looking at the supply tabs, yeah, it is 141 supply to 58. A valiant effort by Sheth, really shoving everything up in here, but even bringing the Queens off the line. But, you know, I thought there was a bleak shimmer of hope right there from Sheth. If he could get inside the base and just ravage the barracks and factories, maybe. But then losing his Queens was pretty much the nail in the coffin. Alright, well, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this cast. Thorzain and Sheth, round 1 has finished and concluded, and it looks like Thorzain wins the first game. Now, game 2, I've been told, is a very exciting matchup. This is a best of 3. I hope you guys tune into the next one. I'll see you guys there. This is HD, signing out.